Chibson versus Gibson, the battle for the Les Paul leg. Every legend invites imitation. And in the guitar world, no name carries more power or pride than Gibson. But where there's greatness, there's always someone trying to copy it. For decades, a quiet war has been fought between the real Les Paul and its counterfeit twin, the so-called Chibson. To some, it's a joke. To others, it's a trap. And now, it's getting harder than ever to tell them apart. Back in the early 1950s, Gibson built a guitar that would change everything, the Les Paul. A slab of mahogany with a carved maple top, two humbuckers, and a tone that defined entire genres. From Les Paul himself to Jimmy Page / Billy Gibbons and Joe Perry, the sound was unmistakable, rich, sustaining, and alive. By the 1970s, the Les Paul was more than an instrument. It was a statement, craftsmanship, heritage, and prestige carved into every curve. And when something becomes that iconic, it also becomes a target. As the internet and overseas manufacturing exploded in the 2000s, a flood of look-alike Gibsons hit the market. They weren't Epiphones or license copies. They were counterfeits built to be Gibsons in name and appearance, right down to the serial number. These guitars were nicknamed Chibsons, a blend of China and Gibson. At first, they were crude, plywood bodies, sloppy fretwork, cheap paint, and laughable electronics. They looked right from across the room, but fell apart the moment you played them. But times have changed. In the last few years, some counterfeit builders have started getting smart, frighteningly smart. Better CNC machines, denser mahogany, hot wound pickups that actually measure close to Gibson specs, even nitrocellulose-style finishes and real mother-of-pearl inlays. They're still illegal, still counterfeit, but they're not all junk anymore. And that makes them more dangerous than ever. What used to fool only beginners can now fool collectors, techs, even seasoned players. From 10 feet away, even experts have to double-take. Still, the soul is different. Pick up a genuine Gibson, and you feel decades of refinement. The weight balance, the neck carve, the hand-roll binding, they all come together in a way that machines can't copy. Plug it in, and that resonance fills the room. A Chibson, no matter how improved, almost always misses that last 10%, the part that makes an instrument feel alive. The sustain dies faster. The harmonics don't bloom the same. It's tone without truth. Gibson knows it. That's why customs agents have seized thousands of fake Les Pauls in recent years, some so convincing they required forensic inspection. Each one labeled as a replica or a display guitar, but every one meant to deceive. The law treats them as counterfeits, no different than fake currency. Selling one as a real Gibson can bring fines, confiscation, or worse. But enforcement can't keep up with the pace of production. For every fake that's caught, 3 more slip through, hidden in containers, sold online, through aliases, or shipped in parts. The counterfeiters have gotten organized and bold. For the average player, the temptation's real. A Chibson might cost $400 while a true Gibson commands $2,500 or more. On video, they look identical. In a dim bar, nobody knows the difference. And that's where ethics collide with economics. Because what starts as good enough for the price slowly chips away at what real craftsmanship stands for. A Chibson doesn't just copy the look, it steals the legacy. To understand what makes a real Gibson different, you have to see how they're made. In Nashville and Bozeman, builders still hand-fit necks, carve tops, and inspect every detail by touch and by ear. They use time-tested woods, precise neck joints, and hand-wired electronics that follow the same blueprints used for decades. Every Les Paul that leaves the line carries a signature, not in ink, but in tone. That's what you pay for. That's what you can't fake. Meanwhile, some Chibson factories are learning the wrong lessons. They've realized if they cut corners smarter, they can fool more buyers. They've learned which forum threads players read, which tone woods to advertise, even which pickup names to fake. That's why the new generation of Chibsons has become a growing threat. Not because they're as good as Gibson, but because they're good enough to fool people. Ask a luthier to strip one down, and you'll see it. Cheap pots labeled CTS. Fake burst buckers that read the right resistance, but use the wrong magnets. Wiring that looks hand-done until you trace the cold joints, and bad shielding. It's surface-level precision, an imitation of authenticity. They're getting closer, but they're still cutting corners where it counts. At the wood grain, at the glue joint, at the hand that feels every fret before it leaves the bench. The truth is, Gibson's quality hasn't been flawless either. Even diehards admit the brands had rough years. 2015's robot tuners, QC complaints, pricing backlash. That opened the door even wider for the counterfeiters. When customers lose faith in a brand's consistency, they start looking elsewhere, even if elsewhere means across a counterfeit border. That's the danger. A fake becomes appealing when the real thing starts to stumble. But over the last few years, Gibson's been fighting its way back. New leadership, stricter quality control, and a focus on heritage have restored much of what made the brand great. Their custom shop guitars now rival anything in history, and you can feel that pride coming back. Technology is joining the fight too. Digital registries, micro-engraved serials, even blockchain-backed certificates are being introduced to authenticate genuine Gibsons. AI tools can now compare minute logo spacing and headstock curves to detect fakes within seconds. The war for authenticity has gone digital. And ironically, the Chibson factories are now using those same technologies to improve their copies. It's a chase that may never end. So where does that leave players? Caught between tradition and temptation. Because yes, the best Chibsons today can rival entry-level Gibsons in finish and feel. Some even outshine older, poorly kept genuine models. But the difference still lies in what you can't see. The resonance, the setup, the attention to micro-detail. The kind of quality that doesn't just happen, it's earned through years of experience and accountability. A real Gibson is built to last generations. A Chibson is built to units. And that's the heart of the divide. One's made to play history, the other's made to imitate it. You can buy tone by the pound, but you can't fake heritage. So, maybe the real lesson isn't don't buy fakes. It's know what you're buying. If you want a budget Les Paul, get an honest one. An Epiphone, a Tokai, a PRS SE. They're proud of what they are. They don't pretend. Because in music, honesty matters. A guitar that tells the truth will always outshine one that lies, no matter how well it's built. The line between Gibson and Chibson has never been thinner. But one still builds for legacy, and the other still builds for illusion. And when the lights dim, the crowd quiets, and that first note rings out. The truth will still be heard. Only one of them sings with soul. Only one of them will stand the test of time. And that one still wears the real on the headstock. Please like and subscribe.